All right. Jonah, welcome to the Highly Emotional Podcast, man.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. I've been indulging in a lot of your content, man, and I would say like you're one of the only people that I've seen in this matrix or this construct or simulation, as you say it, that is literally going around and being in crazy places and really exposing the system, man. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this message, this discernment that you have where you realize that we are in a matrix, we are in a construct. So
Yeah, man, it's a crazy story on how I woke up. If when I look back at the totality of my life and see the patterns, right? I have a biblical name. I didn't have a church going family or a spiritual family. Um, it just so many things happened that had to wake me up. And then 2019, I was on the operating table. I was having surgery on my arm. I had broken my humerus, and when in one of the surgeries I died. Like my surgery lasted 6 hours longer than it was supposed to, and I could feel my soul come out of my body, and I could see the doctors and nurses in the room, and I was telling them that I wasn't ready to go, begging them like, please let me finish this mission, let me jump back in my body. And then when I woke up, I had a knot on the back of my head, like I had surgery on my arm. Like, why do I have a knot on the back of my head? And it was for 3 weeks. It felt like somebody hit me with a baseball bat. But it was after that where I started to hear voices. I figured out, like, did I die? Am I trapped in between dimensions? Like, I was just really in tune with all the frequencies and seeing repeating numbers and obviously the deja vu. And it really felt like the Truman Show, because I would see the patterns of people like jogging down the street, like, dude, I saw you in another neighborhood 2 days ago. So all these things kept happening, and then it was just more and more, as like I would have very vivid dreams showing me the patterns, and that I created this character, Jonah Rogers, as like the biblical character, to go on this mission and journey, really like The Sims. I don't know if you know that video game, The Sims, right? And
facts.
so I created this character, and then now, I had was going through my dark night of the soul, and I'm from Houston, and I was in Texas, and it was like my car got stolen, went through a breakup. It was just like everything was mashing, and I had one of those sinister laughs. I was just laughing like, man, I've been through so much shit in this life. This is all you got. And that's whenever I started using my voice on social media. The journey's taken me across 30 countries, 36 states in the last 3 years since I started at the end of 2021. And it's a simulation. And even the way I describe the simulation is, this is a replica of our real world. Some people call it an ancestor simulation, but this is just a copy of our world. But here you mix in violence, negativity, all the things that you have to overcome, because where we're from, it's instant manifestations. It's nothing but love. You might get bored of that after a while. So you come down here in this Grand Theft Auto world, and you just navigate the system. You want to try drugs? Go try drugs. You want to be a
Mm.
criminal? Go be a criminal. But ultimately, you go on this path to be like this dualistic warrior, where you have the ability to put yourself in every single person's shoes because you can understand them. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, that's actually a dope way to put it into context so that people can overstand and understand. A lot of us we just understand. I will say this, it's so crazy. I want to spin back before we move forward. So you said you died. I died also. I overdosed on depression medication. But when I died, I was just one with the source, pure energy, pure life force. There wasn't no like flesh. I didn't have my avatar. I had my consciousness, but I did not have my avatar. It wasn't I'm seeing my mom and seeing my dad. It was literally like I was a drop in the fucking ocean, and I could just feel this abundance of like love. It's not even like the word I love you. You can't even fathom it by just saying I love you. It's literally abundance. It feels like you're flying. You feel so radiant and all energy. Did you feel something similar to that, or were you like, did you believe that you still were an avatar?
I knew I was still an avatar, but if we dial it back, because I'm so glad you said that. In 2009, I took I overdosed on pain pills. Okay.
Mm,
And the same feeling you got was, it's just this freedom of one with God and the source. It's almost like you're being rocked like a baby. And I truly believe that we activated at that time, that we had to be shown that, because after that, I'm sure you changed. You started to value life. You felt something that felt amazing, but you knew you still had work to do here. And for most chosen ones, or the black sheep of our family, we got to experience that. Now, moving forward in life, you start to see people like Prince. Most of us had to numb ourselves with some type of a pill, because we're so much frequency, we're so much vibration, and we
mm,
get in spaces that, we go to the club, you go to places that are low vibe. Like, we have to lower our vibration to be around those spaces, because we get uncomfortable. So a lot of us, Michael Jackson, for example, a year and a half before he died, he overdosed 3 times. And every time his maid or his butler or somebody would pick him up from next to the pool, and every time he would describe it as just this enormous love and freedom, and he didn't want to go back. And I understand that when you give your energy your whole life, you want to tone it down. But again, I didn't feel it at the 2016, because I'm sorry, 2019, but I think I've probably died here 5 times. So I'm like, I'm free
that's
rolling.
beautiful. That's beautiful. It sounds crazy me saying like that's beautiful, but like, bro, that's beautiful. I like, and I like what you just said made me realize the reason why meditation has cured my depression, but the reason why like there is no feeling as beautiful and that fulfills me as much as meditation. I say it all the time. I'm like, yo, I wish that I can live in a meditative state. And I feel like a lot of people don't overstand or even understand that perspective. They don't get what I'm saying. Like I tell my wife, I'm like, a lot of times I'm happy when I'm by myself. It's weird, it sounds selfish, but it's just a feeling of like when I'm out in nature and I'm hugging a tree or I'm meditating or my feet are in the soil, I just feel like I'm complete. And I realized that that shit, like connecting to source, cured me of a lot of things that I thought was my image. I thought it was my identity. I used to always be like, yeah, I'm depressed. I'm this, I'm that. I'm black. I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm a man. I'm all this other shit. And I'm like, now I'm to the point where I'm like, I can just say that I am. And I feel like that is the best way to describe who I am, to describe God, to describe love, is just to say I am or to say nothing at all. That's how I feel. So it's beautiful that you went through that experience and that you said like, yo, I died 5 times, because now I can understand how much gratitude you have for just the simple fact of having hands, the simple fact of having eyes, bro. Like a lot of people cannot grasp this. So being able to experience that, I already know, like, bro, I know you feel amazing. You look like you feel amazing.
I feel great. That's that. On a side note, I'm on day number 90 of semen retention and day number 10 of water only fast. So that's another reason I feel great. But I also feel so grateful to Source, to God, whatever we're calling it these days, the oneness of the love. And when you talk back about the meditation, you learn to start managing the frequencies that were around you. And none of us wants to be on medication. It was a gradual process for me, where it was weed, to get off pain pills. It was like, CBD, weed, you eat
Mm.
some mushrooms. You have to like rewire your brain to say, I don't need that anymore. And it's like being sober now is being high. Like you feel like the game, the matrix is already wilding. So we don't need any of that anymore. And again, it's so much gratitude and appreciation, because I know just describing your story and your journey, it's like dog tags. Like, we've been through some shit. We did not want to be here. And most people will never understand that we were harder on ourselves than anybody could ever be hard on us. And that the depression of just being here, feeling like you want to go home, but you don't even know where home is. That shit is
Yes.
crazy, mad, maddening.
Yeah, like it's so like you saying that to me just made me feel so empathetic because I do hold myself to a high standard. Like and I'm at this place now. I'm 34. I started my spiritual journey truly like it wasn't right after I had died and came back alive, but it in 2020 it really unlocked for me. Every single thing like just diminished right in front of my eyes. But feeling that empathy, I was going to say that my like the victim mentality used to control me. Now I have this freedom where I realize this, bro, and that's what I was gonna say. I realize one, we're in a simulation, but I have the power to where I can step in my shadow and I can step in my light. And I learned that I have to work with both in an alchemic form. I have to do magic a lot of times because some people, just me talking at my like frequency, a lot of people are not able to grasp that concept. So sometimes I have to hop in my matrix or hop in a construct and I have to be a nigga. I gotta be a black. I gotta be light skinned. I gotta be all these avatars, even a dad, even a husband. And I realized that sometimes I'm gonna channel my darkness. I'm gonna channel my demon. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I gotta be that guy. For example, if someone try to harm my wife or my children, I gotta then bring my shadow to the forefront and protect my greater good, my heaven. So that's bro, that people cannot grasp that. People cannot realize that you are the demon, you are the God, you are the light, you are the dark. So like let's talk about how you know what I'm saying, bro, work with the shadow and work with the light.
You hit the nail on the head because I reached this point in my awakening where I was like, man, am I Lucifer? Because every time I try to like I started to think like every time I try to do something good or do something right, it always turns to shit. Like, why did it turn out that way? And so then I really started to just do this self assessment. Like, who am I? What do I represent? Who do I want to be? And you're exactly right. I have this theory. I'm really glad you brought up this question because I have this theory that the term shapeshifter is really a negative connotation, but in reality, we do kind of shapeshift that we can adjust to any frequency of anybody in the entire world. I can be around billionaires. I'm sure you can too. I can be around homeless people. I can be in the hood. I have the ability to change my frequency. If I sense that I'm in danger, I can emit a frequency that they feel like they're in danger. It's a strange thing where we have the ability to see through all those things. So even when you were describing about the, if somebody comes to try to harm your wife or your child, that's never going to happen because you've already entered the God frequency. We experience the darkness, man. Gambling, drugs, women. We all listen. I'm light years away from the person that I was, but I also understand to heal your ancestral lines and trauma, you had to be your ancestors. All that shit ran in my family. All the darkness ran in my family. My mom couldn't quite break the chain. She did her best, but I stepped in here and said, I want all the smoke. I want the addiction. I want all the addictions. I want everything, because now when we speak to people, you speak from a place of authenticity. It doesn't come out of a book saying, oh, to heal your, no, we speak for the truth, and we speak with the God frequency. You've become God, and you experienced being the devil, and you saw that that's not the person that I want to be, and that's really the true evolution of a star being, of a chosen one, of a black sheep, of somebody who came here to change the world, that never really fit in, but you could get along with anybody. That's the story that we wrote. And that's why such a beautiful evolution, because I don't recognize myself anymore. And that's a beautiful thing. I love myself now. I'm 44 years old. And it's the craziest thing to say is that I finally love myself, because you stop letting people run over you, being doormats. We let people make it a long time, and that time has passed. Like, I value my time and my energy. I'm out.
No, that's yeah, that's facts. I was gonna ask you too, like since you stepped into this, do you feel younger? I feel like I'm like 25 24 now, 25. Like a lot of times someone will ask me like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 30, 34, 34. But I don't feel like when people used to talk about age, everyone used to talk about it like, oh, you're 30 years old, you feel, you're old, this and that. And I'm like, bro, I don't feel the way that y'all described it. I don't feel nothing like that. I feel like a child. And not only that, I look at my children as equal, as like an opportunity or like a partner on this journey. Like my children are my best friend. I don't feel like I'm too old to be on their level. Like even if we're arguing or we have a disagreement, I feel like I can address them and give them knowledge as if they're my counterpart. It's not like they're my child or they're under me anymore. Before, it used to feel different though. But do you feel different?
I feel you definitely, when you start to heal trauma and just the difficult things that we've been through, you start to reverse age. And I feel younger now. I mean, I got these grays popping in, but I feel younger now than I've ever felt. And the relatability, and then you mentioned children, understanding that totality of the construct we live in is that you created a perfect script where you hopped in a family, two families to heal trauma, and then your parents aren't your parents. We think of things in earth years, right? We think, oh, that's my mom, that's my dad. Those are just roles that we play here. But think about, most of us have evolved. It's not a competition, but most of us evolved past our parents at a young age, spiritually, consciously. We were smart, we were claircognizant, we just knew things. And so our soul is thousands, if not millions of years old. So you technically created them, and it's like the soul contracts, and they're kind of like your children in a sense, but more like your brother and sister. But your children did the same thing. You chose your parents, your children chose you. It's just a pattern. And that it always comes back to the youth. Why we're under such attack is the children. I'm not going to get super dark in the adrenochrome. They emit this frequency that is just pure love. Kids only know love until they're programmed differently. And so that's why it's so crucial to reach them at this age. And yeah, man.
Yo, that's beautiful. I was gonna say, like, did you when you accepted your journey, right? I feel like, and I always talk about this, like the hero's journey. When I first accepted my journey, I was going out there telling people, like, yo, don't eat the food. Yo,
Yeah.
I got crosses on my hand. I don't know if you can see that. I got crosses on my hand. Oh my God, I'm backwards. I got crosses on my hand, and I'm idolizing something outside of myself. Like I had all these constructs built around me, and then I was going around telling people, and then people started thinking like, or making me feel as if I was crazy. And so it reverted like where I'm at now, where I realized this. It's like it's Earth or life is GTA. I can play whatever character I want. If you want to be low vibrational, then cool, fuck it. But if you are on this frequency, it's such a divine connection where I don't have to convince you everything that I believe in is the truth. But that's how it was when I first started. I would have to be like, yo, you don't notice how the food looks fake? You don't know how, like, if you go into a gas station or you go into these places, it feels like if you go into the gas station on GTA, like, did you have to deal with like that trying to convince people what it is?
Bro, in the beginning of my awakening, like it's like it hits you like a ton of bricks. It was January 2020, and I went around telling everybody, "We live in the Matrix. The government's bad. Look at like," and it's so obvious to us. Like we're in that frequency where you just see everything from a higher perspective, and so you lose people. I would start talking to somebody, and all of a sudden you see the blood start leaving their face, where they almost become scared. Where you start scaring the children away. So it was, you know, it was a very frustrating process to have to go around that. We knew we had a higher purpose and mission to speak truth, but we weren't at that frequency at the time to be able to relate to them. But I also understand now, not everybody's meant to wake up. That's the reality of the construct we live in, is about finding your tribe, finding the matching frequency, and then the rest will come. It's like the FOMO. As soon as you start seeing people that become better people, and like they know the evolution of us. I can look back now, and all the people I was trying to wake up, They watch every story. You know what I mean? They're there. Their pride and their ego. They're starting to see like shit. Maybe they don't want to miss out, but they also are like, you know what I mean? Like they're into it. So it's just understanding that we had to wake up early. We probably got. I know we got on people's nerves. I could feel. I used to get on my own nerves because I would get so emotional and so passionate, and the vaccine and like, and it just after a while you're just like, you know what, dog? Hey, dog, do you? All of us are living in our own world. It's your reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you think that God is a fish, then worship Aquaman. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you.
Yeah, that's facts. That's really how I am now, where I realize where people are. I realized that I did some meditating with a Buddhist monk sometime last year, and they were talking about the different realms of reality, or however you want to talk about it. But what I realized is that there's people who are operating in what they call the old earth, and there's people who are operating in a new earth. Now, we're not talking about a whole new planet, but we're talking about a frequency, a vibration. And when you look at people, people still think that politics run the world. People still think that religion is running the world. People really think that, but they don't realize that it's really the people. The people. Now, if you are not consciously of your actions, of your reality, then you're going to be affected by politics. You're going to be affected by all this bullshit that is really created to indoctrinate or to create fear within you. So at that point, you're living in the old world, but a lot of people cannot. They just can't fathom. They don't get it. I seen the fucking moon disappear a couple weeks ago, bro. Nobody's gonna believe me, but me and my wife experienced the same thing. She's not as woke as me, right? But she still experienced it. And I'm like, yo, no one's ever gonna believe that. No matter how many times I get on here and tell people, like, yo, I seen the fucking moon disappear. It was bright orange. People like, yo, are you sure you're not talking about the orbs? Are you sure it wasn't just this? It wasn't just a tree? I'm like, bro, the moon doesn't normally move at a rapid rate. I literally seen it go from a big orange ball to a triangle, and then slowly dim out, disappear, and then pop up on the opposite side. Bro, like, come on. Come on.
Right?
Let's really talk about it.
That's the great divide. So it I find it interesting because everything that happens to us is a chance to see who's really awake. So you talked about religion first. I didn't know religion was contrived. I know that I had a biblical name, and I know since the time I was little, Christianity's kind of been pushed on me. But when you really start to do the research, you see that I don't want to say dark beings, but religion was pushed by higher dimensional beings as a way to enslave us, another way to enslave us. Those stories were real. These people did walk the earth, but the same thing with politics. It's used to enslave because people in general want to be controlled. They want to be told what to do or what's next. And so we see through it. I went on this. I got into politics like 8 years ago when the first election with Hillary and Trump, and I lost like everybody on Facebook because I'm like, Trump is a racist. Like I'm just going off like Hillary's the best. And man, I look like an idiot, but that was a part of my awakening. And I started to see that, first of all, a lot of my friends that I thought were friends were actually racist. And then the other part was that Hillary and the Clintons aren't that good. But who cares? Like that's a part of their script. It's WWE wrestling. Even bringing it down to today, there's no savior in politics or messiah. Until we get full disclosure on the nature of our reality, they could miss me with anything that they're promising, school lunch, pizza on Fridays. I don't give a shit. Like I'm not in that realm. And then these people, you find people, not to divert, change topics, but in the spiritual, when you start looking for your tribe and you start meeting spiritual people, most spiritual people are not awake. They're like spiritual narcissists. And when I see spiritual people saying Donald Trump is a Pleiadian starseed and he's a galactic, and Melania is a galactic flight captain, and he's been playing 24 dimensional chess since the 1970s, miss me with that, bro. Miss me with that,
I
bro.
never heard that one. That's crazy.
It's just it's people in general. People will hear a talking point and then try, and then it just gets regurgitated like parrots. But all of this leads to the oneness, to understanding you are the source, you are God. All of these other storylines, we could dip in the matrix. It's like it's the Real Housewives of Earth. If you want to go dip in some of these negative topics, yeah, you know what? Let's go talk about
Shoot the shit.
shoot the shit. It's just to make yourself more relatable because you can't go through life alone. But you reach a point where you're like, the shit's lower my vibration, dog. Like the amount we talk a lot about. Let me put it this way: when you wake up, you see all the things that you have to fade: poisonous food, poisonous water,
Mhm.
poisonous air. But the number one poisonous thing we have is the programming, the television, social media, negativity. It's when you start ingesting that, you can get physical ailments. So it's really like you versus you, because you are the creator. But I'm on this timeline now where I'm like, I don't even open negative videos, dog. Who cares? There's no
Yeah,
conspiracy.
don't send me that shit.
Nah,
Don't
dog.
send me that shit. Yeah.
Like, come on, man. I don't care. Diddy, this, that shit's done played out. This shit's already happened.
Yo, you are like the third person that said it. That's just crazy. And now that you said it, when you were talking about the poison is you. You are the poison. You get what I'm saying? You are in control of the narrative that you perceive in your reality. This is your domain. At this point, like, you have to take control of it. We have to take control of our reality. We have to be empowered. But a lot of people won't get it. But I was going to say, it had me thinking. So, how, like, what's up with these 0 1 1 1 0 videos that you have? What purpose is that serving? Like, tell me about it, because I've been seeing it. I'm like, okay, what's the purpose behind it?
So let me dial it back. I started seeing angel numbers like most of us.
Yeah.
2018, 2019. I'm like, okay, yeah, 111 and stuff like that. And then when I started using my voice on social media, a guy named Nick reaches out to me and he said he was writing a book. And he was like wondering what he should title the book. And I said, well, if I was going to write a book, I would call it Breaking Free from the Matrix. And he said, well, he ended up naming his book that, but he also put 00101110, which is a binary code that he's for a community that he started, where it's just basically the people who are awake. You can share gifts, you can share knowledge, things like that. And it just represents freedom, right? So moving forward, how the story plays out, I ended up meeting Sophia Stewart. They call her the mother of the Matrix in the Terminator series.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay, so I met her in Las Vegas. Here's I'm about to blow your mind. I
You about
met
to
her.
tap me in too.
I met her in Las Vegas. I went to go interview her on 10/11, right? Like October 11th, right? 10/11. It was 1011.
1 1. Yeah.
If you take off the zeros on the binary code 00101110, it's 1011. Now, we did a meetup in Times Square. A little bit before that, we launched the code 00101110 to the world, that we live in the matrix, and this is to activate a telepathic communication, that for a code for you to basically use numbers, because it jams the system and the algorithms. And we ended up doing like 150 million views on the hashtag. I went live from Times Square saying we live in the matrix. But what's even spookier is the day I met Sophia Stewart is the day I discovered gematria, right? Gematria is a Kabbalistic method. It was taken from the Ifu, which was Africa, that letters equal numbers, that this is all one big system, and that letters, just like numbers, hold energy and frequency. So I put my name, Jonah Rogers, in the calculator. My name, Jonah Rogers, equals 1011. I had been, I've been yelling, yeah, dog, I'm telling you, I've been yelling this code for a year, almost a year, and it was my name. Like you can't script it. Like I had no idea. I'm like, and then what it actually equals, the value of my name equals, I am the Lord Yeshua. So I'm just like, I mean, If I'm him or not doesn't really matter, but that's the frequency that the name I chose has. But this is how it's all connected. So you can use numbers to manifest things, you can use numbers to heal yourself. And how you know this is a factual thing, the CIA released documents in the 1970s that we live in a holographic projection. There's a few things called like Project Stargate, but there's a code 51555 that you can use to eliminate pain in your body. The CIA released this. Now it gives you a mantra in a way. How exactly you do it, you have to command like your body or your mind to basically remove that pain. So if you can, this is how I also describe the simulation. If you can use a number to heal your body, how in the hell is this? If you can use your mind to manifest things, how is this not a simulation? Do you see animals out there chanting numbers? Like you can create something out of thin air. And I'm sure you've manifested things. We all don't really tap in that much, where we try, or when the money gets tight, we're like, man, I need to manifest this money. You know what I'm saying? Like, but in general, we dip in, we see our gifts, and then we dip out.
Mm. Yo, that's just crazy. Cause yeah, I was like, what's the purpose behind these videos? I see you posted and I see like, the description, but I was like, maybe he's sending a message. That's really what I thought you were sending a message to people who are on the frequency that tune in so that they know, what I'm saying, what you got going on in a sense.
They do. It's a community that we created, and I started a brand with it and stuff like that. I don't really use that much, but I'll put it in in another way. I was in Venice Beach one time, and it was at night, and sometimes it could be sketchy out there in LA at night. And I was on live, and I'm over here talking about the Matrix and simulation, and then this lady comes up to me and she said, and I'm talking about Yeshua and the simulation and aliens and star seeds, and she said, "You're going to hell." And like she was like getting mad aggressive in my face, and I'm like, I'm on live, like I didn't know what to do, so I said 0010110 001. She glitched, dog. Like she did one of these and she ran. It was
What
like
the fuck?
a video game where I'm like, the number, the code has many, many meanings, but it is also like the bat signal, like, hey guys, it's almost time for the great gathering of the chosen ones and the meetup. And even all of this is it's been one giant script that's coming to an end. We all feel it energetically. We don't know exactly what's coming, but we know it's about to be go time. So, anyways, that's where the number originated.
Yeah, so what did you ever do like any like test to like test the simulation, to test the matrix, like see what you could do, or like see how it affects people in a sense, like I can always tell who's an NPC. Like now that I'm in the room, it's like I'm playing a video game. I'm controlling me in GTA, and I can look literally, I can tell this person is an NPC based upon their consciousness. And then every now and then you'll see somebody who's on like on conscious, but they playing in that NPC role too. Have you done certain tests like that?
100%. I talk with telepathy most of the time. That was one of the gifts that I was gifted in January of 2020. A whole lot of things happened where I was able to talk with my mind and have full conversations with certain people on a frequency. So when I go out in society today, 99.9% of the people are asleep. The majority of the world is asleep. Like there's levels to this, but I can talk to someone. I can talk to their, I'm not even talking to them. I'm talking to their soul if they have one, and they always communicate with me. It's something that I can recognize somebody right away. You can see in somebody's eyes if there's anything upstairs. Even the NPC thing was weird. You know, when I describe our reality, I say we live in a world of clones. We live in a world of AI. We also live in a world of non-player characters. They're just in the background. They're fillers. Hey, and that's how what I really discovered on my travels was I would meet a guy in LA named Bob Smith. And Bob goes to Starbucks 5 days a week. And Bob loves his boss. And Bob loves the government. And Bob has missionary sex once a week with his wife Mitzi, and he eats meatloaf and mashed potatoes. It's his favorite meal. But if you go to Germany, you got to there's an Ulf Gustafsson over there that it's the same thing. They
Gustav, yeah.
you feel me? They exist inside of our entire reality, and I used to kind of use it as a derogatory term, but in reality, they're our creation. When you walk out of your door, you created your entire reality. So it would be almost like making fun of you. Now, what I will say about the Agent Smith effect, there are agents here, and the agent is basically you could call them the narcissists or whatever you want to term them, but they're here to challenge you and challenge your reality and humble you and talk down on you. But we also created the agents. So I even learned to just love them. They're a version of you. Like you
Mm,
have to fade a whole lot when you're here, but when you understand and you can master it, all you have to do is talk in your mind. And the one tip that I give people typically on telepathy is if you want to start mastering your skills, go to the mall, no headphones, by yourself, walk through the food court, and just talk to people with your mind. Try to communicate with them. You can do it with animals too, but when you start to just really hone in on, I can communicate with anybody at any time, you might not even be communicating to their avatar. There might be an ET that comes, hops in, and gives you the confirmation that you want. And some of the things that I described, like if I say, is it going to rain tomorrow, right? Or ask a question and they scratch their nose, that means no. If they do this, if they, like you have to identify what the symbols and symbolism means to you. But I always know nose is no, right? They do the ears. Like if I see somebody do an ear, that means listen, something, there's something, a voice or something about to happen. If I see eyes, they do this, that means look something for you to see, maybe a message on a shirt. But the universe is communicating with you 24/7. There's no chill.
that's crazy. That's mind blowing. I'm everything you have to realize, like everything that anytime I bring somebody on my platform and they bring something like this, I always test it because I want to know what works for me. And you're teaching me, and everyone is seeing my spiritual journey elevate even more because there's levels to this shit. You feel me? Like that's dope. I was gonna ask you, so um, have you seen the reptilians? Have you tapped in? I've seen, like, I don't like talking about this shit because people don't get it. But bro, I didn't see some reptilians. I didn't see some weird shit, bro. Like at the like you look at them and then you stop and then you look again and you like, what the fuck? Like, did I really just see this? And, and a lot of times, bro, it's older people, bro. It's older people, and it's scary out here sometimes, man.
It's not. I even look at it in that way. Like I used to describe even the reptilians being dark, but a lot of the people who have helped me on this journey have been reptilians, and
Facts.
they've been greys. So it's like in one way or the other they helped me. But I remember I never forget, like sitting on a beach. I was sitting on the beach in Thailand, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking at this dude. And by the way, you can ask a reptilian if they're a reptilian. Talk about that in a second.
Oh
But
yeah.
this dude walks by, an old man, like, and his neck looks like it's about 18 feet tall, and he's like
Shit.
put. I'm like, oh, I know, I already know. Wearing green shorts, like I
Oh
mean,
shit.
it's so obvious. But the thing about it is, you'll start to see the patterns of the reptilians love to wear green. Okay,
Mm,
they have a green car. They might have they wear a green jumpsuit, like green and orange, I should say, is the reptilians color. The grays, the same thing. They might wear a gray jumpsuit, have a gray car, have a gray house, even own a greyhound dog. Like people always are telling you as a part of what
mm,
lineage they are. The grays are typically very skinny, highly sexual. Most grays are not broke. Most grays got money. Like they know how to manifest money. The matrix always uses them as props or instruments. But I even got past that timeline because I recognize all the species at all times. I know what uh, most people come from different star systems, but uh, the reptilians, the dark reptilians, man, they're just so conniving. They can wrap themselves around you like a snake, where they tell you everything you want to hear and how great you are, and all these things, and then it's like, you ever meet somebody and you feel like, you know, right away within the first 2 minutes, this person does not have the best intentions, but they're saying
Facts.
it's okay, and you know they're trying to play the long game on you. Like, you
Yeah.
know that there's some goal that they want.
Yeah. Yeah. You just feel it. Yeah.
You feel it, and that's like a reptilian energy. It can take over any avatar. And but I also understand that a lot of reptilians incarnated to atone for their ancestors' sins, to be the light. They might not know that they're the light. They want to be the light. And in times of toughness, they'll revert back to their old habits and their reptilian ways. But the other part of that is, all of our governments are run by draconian reptilians. Like that, like most
Facts.
know that. So I don't it's not something I talk about every day, but the different alien species are here. The Anunnaki are here. Like, everybody is here at this time.
Yeah, like it's so I've been learning a bunch from Billy Carson talking about the Anunnaki, but I just recently started studying the, is it the tablets? It's either the tablets or whatever it is. I was studying it and I started hearing about Adamu, hearing about Enki and then Lil, all these different things. And it's so crazy because when you listen to these stories, you have to think, one, I'm a firm believer is that, one, everything comes from something. There's always an original story. All the depictions of entities and beasts and aliens and all this shit, it has to come from some type of idea, because you cannot even pick up something that hasn't literally been transcribed at some point in your existence. Like, literally, when you, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you close your eyes and I said, hey, draw me a monster, chances are your monster's gonna have sharp teeth, right? So that concept comes from something before. That may not be, what you think is true or not, but at the same time, these ideas come from somewhere. I tell people all the time, we're living in a time where Harry Potter is real, aliens are real, and Ultron is real. We're literally in that time. Everything that they've been telling us for the longest, that, yo, this is fantasy and this and that, and I'm like, y'all really don't want to sit here and act like Ultron is not real? If you give this AI that we have right now consciousness on the level that we have consciousness, we're fucked. We're fucked.
You hit the nail on the head. You get to a point of consciousness where you realize there's no such thing as fiction. If the human mind has the ability to perceive something, that what they think is fantasy, something gets planted there, it's existed either at some time in this dimension or another dimension. And the other thing is that there's no original thoughts or ideas. Somewhere in the cosmos, there is a place that serves peanut butter and jelly and hamburger and hot dog sandwiches served on top of waffles with syrup and eggs. Somewhere that exists. Somewhere that's the number one treat. You know what I mean? It sounds nasty to us, but it's understanding that. And then when I go back, though, I use a lot of discernment when it comes to. I used to dip in and say, obviously we know Jesus's name wasn't Jesus because the letter J didn't exist 2,000 years ago. It was Yeshua. We know that all these things that we've been taught, I believe, really and truly believe time travel exists, and that Nikola Tesla discovered it, and that they went back and changed religious texts and took out things like fasting. It's only in the United States, by the way, fasting and reincarnation. But all those old storylines are recycled storylines. Horus had 12 disciples and got crucified next to two thieves.
Yeah.
Jesus got crucified, had 12 disciples next to two thieves. It's the same storylines that get repeated. So I just start to say, okay, in this reality, it's the same thing that's come to life, but I don't trust necessarily anything that people say or do. Not, I shouldn't say or do, but I rely on energy. Does it move my energy? Does it move my frequency? Because we can get really caught up in the old stories and the old timelines What I prefer to do now, because I know everything is hidden in books, that people were talking about this stuff years and years and years ago, but because of CERN and because of HARP and all these things, they jammed our frequency. Look at our minds now. How I bet your attention span, like mine, is probably a lot worse than it used to be. If something don't catch me, I move on. It's a
Facts.
it's a part of it's a part of our programming. So now I see, okay, they want to get us away from books. They want to keep you sucked in into this black mirror. I've gone back. I've been carrying these books that were gifted to me. They go back and it talks about everything that I've been talking about on this journey. Star seeds, the Illuminati, aliens, like
What
everything.
books you talking about? What books you talking about?
There's a book, well, there's one called The Flower of Life that I was reading on live the other day, because they even talked about that Egypt was actually 10 to 15,000 years old. Our creation, this is the part that's just pure bullshit. They tell us that civilization didn't start until 6,000 years ago. Like
Mm.
that's just like, we find bones, they find human bones from 40,000 years ago. Stop. Like, first of all, but it talks about Egypt and how that there had to be a great flood because there was water wearing. Like, they found shark bones in the desert in Egypt, and they found whale bones. Like, they know at some time it was plush, it was green, there was things going on. So it's just in that book, it just really confirms everything. The flower of life, that all the secrets are in the flower of life. It's sacred geometry. Like, how I talk about simulation, they cracked the code a long time ago, but it wasn't a digital or computer simulation. It was God simulation. And that nature, if you take every animal in the entire world, there's a point where you could cut them in half and they're exactly the same and symmetrical.
Mm.
Everything's a pattern, everything. Even as a baby, when we're born, your belly button is exactly half and half. Like, it goes throughout all of nature. They would look at a random plant or a random flower. It's the same thing. So the books are really hiding all the secrets. And I've been called to go back into Egyptian texts, because that's really where the origin stories. The Egyptians could transfer consciousness. If me and you wanted to transfer consciousness, I could jump in your avatar, you could jump in my avatar. Like, they were doing this shit 15,000 years ago, and they knew about electricity.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, Billy, you fuck with Billy Carson?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Billy Carson, the way that he be landscaping a lot of shit, I'm like, yo, there's no way. I'm sorry. Like, I believe it, man. I like it's I used to subscribe to like Christian beliefs, and I used to be like, I'm gonna be honest. At some point, I realized that I was lying about my belief in Jesus. Right? It was like I was saying I believed in Jesus based upon the fear of going to hell, and then I was like, now that I'm older, I realized that the story of Jesus is a story that you have to apply to your life. It's not about the name. It's not about, all these things that you're supposed to believe in and this and that. It's more about overstanding and empathy, or empathetically feeling the love that he lived out of, that he was supposed to. And then now I got to the point where people starting to tell me about Mary Magdalene, and I'm like, okay, Mary Magdalene. Now this makes me realize why I feel the way I feel with my wife. If it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't even be on this frequency that I am. I'd still be on that low vibration. But now that I have a wife, she can create that balance that I need so that I can be in the matrix or out the matrix, and also have a level of discernment when it comes to my emotions. Because before, I had all this high emotions. I always felt like a really, really loving being, but for some reason, I felt like my emotions were being abused. I felt like I was weak because I was emotional. I felt like that. And then that would put me in that low vibrational state. So hearing about Mary Magdalene, I'm like, okay, this makes sense, because everything in reality, everything in existence, and maybe on outside of existence, has to have duality, right? Without a woman and a man, me and you can exist. That's with everything from the lights in my house to the straw in a cup. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything has to have positive and negative. That's just what it is. So, yeah, it's
I
crazy as hell.
I I appreciate you saying that, because the journey, I didn't grow up around spiritual people. I didn't grow up around religious people. It's something that found me later in life. I grew up around kind of like entrepreneurs, mostly after the age of 18. So that was kind of the world I was in, and none of them were religious or spiritual. And then after I had my awakening, I discovered spirituality, and I'm like, oh, this is love. Because I would go to church like once a year, twice a
Yeah.
year. And then,
Holiday type shit.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like holidays, Easter. And, but then I discovered spirituality, and I discovered crystals. And I was like, okay, is this bogus? Is this, start seeing that Nikola Tesla worked with crystals, and he's one of the smartest people that ever lived. And that crystals are actually living and breathing. If you go back, they're living, breathing consciousness. Move it forward. I started to see that a lot of spiritual people were calling in dark entities, demons, like all these dark spirits through that. They didn't even know what they were channeling, doing dark witchcraft. So I started to step away from that, and all of this journey has brought me back to Christ consciousness. Just like Adam and Eve, right? It take a man and a woman. It takes for creation. The matrix. The word matrix means womb, because creation comes from the mother's womb. So I understand that now, and that we all came down here in pairs, and that you are Yeshua, you are Jesus, you are Moses, you're all these characters in one. You're not one person. We have a name that we're assigned at birth that we chose, but in reality you're going to resonate with all these Egyptian characters, Greek mythology. You kind of resonate with them, like, yeah, like you know what I mean, like you put yourself in that role. And so it is it is the role of us to usher in this new era of love, of to rewrite the love story. Look what you got to fade in the world today. Like imagine if you didn't have a wife right now. Imagine trying to date my guy.
Yo,
Like,
I
come.
tell people all the time, I don't know how y'all do it because women have be like social media has now taught our women to undervalue themselves while saying that they value themselves. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Like that, yeah, I can't do it. I'm thankful for everything that I have. I'm gonna be honest.
I see it now where there it's. I don't want to knock any movement, because
Facts.
every great movement started off in love and for a good purpose. But the feminist movement, what I see today is women are becoming men and men are becoming women. It's like this weird thing where they're transferring roles. So it's like, if we ever could get back, I don't want to say traditional values, because we are evolving, but it's
Fact.
under that we are dualistic, and that we are the feminine energy and the masculine energy, and it's representing and working together. But when I see it today, like what would you even talk about? Is if they ain't on, if they're not awake talking about, ascending and changing the world, and making the, and changing all these things, then what really is there a point of? Like, people are still so sucked into the Instagram of showing how great their life is, which is cool. Like, you can share your frequency, you can share positive things in that role, but a lot of people aren't using it for that. It's all about a business, or it's people are stuck in this world where they want to be in 4D and 5D, but they're still so 3D and programmed of, I got to live this way. And that's why we got to change this shit. That's why it really all has to fall. All systems have to crumble. There's this calming for me. I don't know if you feel this way, where you see the chaos, right? You see that the wars that are started essentially by the United States, you see all these things happening, right? And that but you also see the systems falling, and people are starting to wake up, because now, if you can't see it by now, you might not meant to be see it, but it has to fall. It has to be chaotic, and we're here just to anchor in the light, and that's why we woke up so soon.
Yeah, that's that. I agree 100%. We're in 2024, and if you not asking questions, something's wrong. If you just accepting everything that is portrayed on media, like something is truly wrong, because it's all in front of your face. Politics is literally a fucking, like you said, WWE. Like, and I tell people, I'm like, this is the thing. You guys are voting for someone to give you, they're giving you breadcrumbs, right? They give you these candidates that you think represent you, but they don't look like you, and they don't even know your experience. Like, people are so quick to vote for the black person, but that person that you think is black is not black in the way that you are. That person does not know true black struggles. There are black people who have been spoon fed based upon them trying to be, the oppressor. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to say it in a positive way, but like, let's be honest, the candidates will never understand what it has been like to be the man that I am, or the struggles that I had. So at that point, why would I even waste my vote? I know that this is bullshit. You're giving me a half person who identifies as what I identify as. So yeah, it's crazy as fuck.
I'm so glad you said that, because I wanted to say something. First of all, I voted for Obama. My mom's white. I'm mixed, right? And I voted for Obama because I'm like, okay, here's somebody, he probably wants to change
Facts.
the world.
Same.
And I'm like, oh, we got a black man for president.
My president is black.
And man, he didn't do shit. Like, honestly, he perpetrated all the wars. And like when you really step back and look, he had this golden opportunity. And then if you really do a deep dive, he's been groomed since the time he was a child to be put in that position of a person of color. We can divide him even more without them knowing it. That speaks great. He's a great orator, but that was a part of the program. Now I look and I say, when somebody says they're voting for somebody because they're a woman, or because they're black, or because they're white, I'm like, you're not even at the frequency that I'm at. But I want to tell you a download. I haven't shared this, especially online yet, but I want to share.
Premiere, world premiere. Let's get it.
Okay, so all of us woke up to see, we see the wars, right? We see Ukraine, we see Russia, we see Israel. And I spent 3 weeks in Jerusalem and all over Palestine and also Israel. Now, when you look at the world, we know that they want us to hate the Jewish people. We know that they want us to hate Zionists. And in reality, who owns the music and entertainment industry? Who owns the media? They own everything, and they funded both sides of things like wars. You can go back to the Rothschilds. They're really the villain or the devil in the matrix on the surface level. Everything's coming to light. But the download that I got 3 days ago, it's a step further than that. It's the United States. The United States is the absolute villain and devil and culprit in this whole situation, because they've started every war. They've pitted brothers and sisters against each other, and they went back in time, and just like original Jewish people and Hebrews were black. Like I'm not even going to debate anybody
Shout
about
out
that.
Kanye.
Yeah, he said it before we even knew. Like, and I got to spend time with the Black Hebrew Israelites in Dimona, Israel. That they've been there since the 1970s. They went back and traced the lineage, and they were we're the original Jewish people. So, in saying that, I truly believe time travel exists. That the United States, at some point, there was a middle point. It could have been in the 1940s. It could have been in the 20s. Who knows when it was? But they went back in time, and they saw all the different points in history, the major points in history. They needed somebody like Hitler to be, they had, because they funded both sides of every war. They perpetrated every single war for this chaos, that they are the real villain in this whole entire movie that we live in. But if you go a step further, it's because of the draconian reptilians. Dwight Eisenhower made a deal in the 1950s that he traded technology, things like anti-gravity and space travel and time travel, all these things. They traded technology for human lives. And basically they left us here to say, okay, you guys do what you want, do everything for good. But every time mankind kept using things like nuclear technology, they would use it as a weapon. So I'm saying all that to say that on the very highest timeline, that we created everything. We created the villains. We're not, our soul didn't just come here to earth. We were here thousands of years ago to oversee it all. And we're just coming in this form at this time to basically break the chains, expose everything. But it's just, for me, it's the US. It's not, we blame Israel. Is like, they programmed Israel. That MK Ultra mind control shit is very effing real. That they know how to control the minds of the masses, because you can see the patterns when you go around the world. Different cultures have the same patterns and the same characteristics. It's the same programming. And Israel has that program and pattern that was instituted by the United States. They're being used as a pawn to be the villain right now. They're just continuously bombing for no reason.
Damn.
It's the USA, man.
Right.
Why did we incarnate here? We could have came anywhere in the world, but we chose this lifetime because this is the hardest matrix. Because we can't even see that we're slaves in this system. What does this start off at? I pledge allegiance to the flag. They started the. Think about it. From the time you got to get a job, you got to get a house, you got to get a wife, you got to go to college, take on 200,000 in debt. They keep you plugged in that system where you're just like, what the fuck? You wake up in your 50s still paying off debt. You and you ain't done nothing. But we came in and said, nah, I want to be a straight A student, but I'm good. I'm gonna go play sports. I want to play sport. We were constantly moving around, which is how we broke out of the system. But the indoctrination started from the time we were children, and it takes a whole lot to break out of it.
Yeah, that shit's deep, bro. You said a mindful. I ain't gonna lie. You dropped it off. Before we end, I was gonna say, have you had any weird experiences with the Matrix that, you know what I'm saying, that blew your mind, like per se?
Uh, Man, I've had so many. That's a good question because, um, I mean, besides the telepathy, I've seen the creation of this earth, and I have met with God in an avatar, in a human avatar, and I was shown creation. That was really strange. But I mean, I've seen UFOs around the world. Everywhere I've been, I see these beings in the sky. I was in, or crafts in the sky. When I was in Joshua Tree, they were hovering over me, almost like trolling me. And I'm like, pick me up. I mean, I've seen so many glitches that, I try to catch everything on camera, but the majority of the stuff that we see happens so fast that where our minds are still trying to wrap our heads around what's rendering in front of us. But, I've seen so many glitches, and then obviously it's the telepathy, that being able to communicate with minds. That I was shown. Like, I'll give you an example. I had my awakening January of 2020, and it was very violent. Like when I say violent, like boom. I woke up one day, I wasn't Jonah, and I could see everything that was wrong in the world. And I could hear the thoughts in people's minds, like the Mel Gibson movie, What Women Want. I could hear what people were talking and saying. And I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on? And I could see again everything that was wrong. And it was like it hit me so fast that I was trying to unplug and unpack everything that happened, and then move it further along. I went to this place in Seabrook, Texas, not far from NASA, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden these people start showing up that look like replicas of people that I've met before in my life, like very close personal friends that look like clones, like cookie cutter. I'm like, okay. So they're standing there, and then all of a sudden one of them looks me dead in my eyes and starts talking to me with their mind, with telepathy, like a full conversation. And one of the women, she says, two people are going to hurt you very, very badly 1 year from now to today. And I was like, okay. And I asked the names. I asked the two names because I already knew it in my heart and soul, and I felt it. And I said one of the names. She said yes. And then I said the other name, and she said yes. And all these other people were around. Like, it was like I can't really describe it. It was like supernatural. Fast forward a year from then, sure enough, like clockwork, ripped my heart out to people close to me, like my family. But it also is what really triggered my big awakening, where I saw that I was going to be alone on this journey and that I had to go say some uncomfortable things. But that telepathy and beings jumping in avatars and communicating with the dead, like I didn't even know the word medium means you're a medium, like you're in between realms, the living and the dead. Like we're in the middle. And so we're this channel for both sides. And it's really just a beautiful thing to be in this frequency, to be able to share with other people our gifts and our talents and the downloads that we get.
Beautifully put, bro. I really appreciate that. This has been extremely powerful. You charged me up. I'm ready. I'm ready to continue my journey of, gaining that knowledge. I think like now I'm in a place where I'm just a searcher for information. I'm no longer complacent on saying, okay, well, now I'm this and now I'm that. Like it's I'm constantly gaining the information, bro. And I'm telling you, you charged me up 100%. And I just want to say thank you. Before I let you go, I do this with everyone that I have on my podcast. If you can tell me one book that you refer, you can do more than one, or and also a powerful quote that everyone can apply to their life.
I love that. And I want to say thank you so much for having me on here. I don't do many podcasts. I saw your profile and I'm like, that brother gets it. And so, first, the book. I would say The Three Waves of Volunteers by Dolores Cannon. It's another one of those information that finds you, but she talks about the different souls that incarnated here at the different times after the atomic bomb went off in the 1940s, that we chose to come here as part of the Earth Needs Help. So that one. And then I would say the quote would be Muhammad Ali. He said, I hated every day of the training. He said, I hated every bit of it. But I said, suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. And that's the way I really live my life, is that I don't mind enduring the pain. You know, when you go through times of joy and happiness in life, you don't really learn. But from the pain makes you feel alive. The pain, you know, it's only temporary. That's the real part where you activate, you do these uncomfortable things to get into the comfortable and then to be able to teach others.
Thank you so much. Like I say on every podcast, man, if you guys love the message that you hear, make sure you hit a like button, a subscribe button, drop a comment. Make sure that you follow us on all our platforms. Drop your platform for me.
So I'm Book of Jonah on Instagram. I'm Jonah Rogers on Facebook. They just took down. I was started talking about politics. I had 600,000 on TikTok. They took that down. So you know the message is out there. But I also just started a Discord, and they can DM me for that. Or they'll DM me for the link. It's in my link tree on Book of Jonah. But it's for the code breakers, for people that are in tune to numbers, dreams, spirituality. We're gonna tap in there and we're gonna crack this code.
All right, man. And you guys heard it first. Till next time, peace, love, and light. Big swim.